Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Simply Trade Roundup. Today is a very special holiday edition. My name's Anik, and I'll be your host today. So I think this episode is just so special to me because everyone is freaking out or, working late hours and making trade kind of their personality, which is not a bad thing. But how do we manage trade and our personal lives together? And I think when we first discussed this, it was Bonnie and I was so excited and I felt like this was the perfect timing to do it, like Thanksgiving holiday. Anyways, let me introduce the people because they have much more to say than I want to say right now. So we have, ladies first, we have Michelle Frennier. She's been on the podcast a few times. And I recently did an episode with her, which I really enjoyed. So go check that out. Then we have Benita Lee. She is coming from us all the way from Canada. She has also been on the podcast for trade therapy, which is kind of what we're going through today. Then we have Bonnie Gutz from just right down the street from me in France, because I'm in Germany right now. And Gutz, I said it.
Yeah, we already went through that one, Anik. It's Gutz. It is German.
We have Kyle from Ireland, and he's been on the podcast as well. Also a trade nerd, if I can call you that. All these people you can find on LinkedIn, okay? So we will have them linked below, and you can check them out, connect with them, follow them. If you need them, you can call them up. So let's get to the juice of this episode. Let's start with the trade industry and work-life balance. How is that even possible?
Well, I'm just going to jump in because I'm ready for this one. And, as we were talking about offline was that I think it's really important to draw boundaries on your work-life balance, right? Like what's important to you, because it won't be the same as what's important to me, right? I have a little boy, so my time is spread differently, right, than somebody else. But knowing what those boundaries are and then sticking to them, and also communicating that with both your direct reports and whoever you report into. So knowing those boundaries and then sharing them with your team so that that they also feel that you're prioritizing them and communicating with them and that they would respect them, right? I think it's a cultural thing too, right? Like if you're leading with that culture, then your rest of your team and your manager will follow suit.
Work-life balance? Well, I recently had a leisure trip where I went to a conference in Mexico City, and then I booked some leisure time to bookmark the trip.
Yeah. Tequila tasting is what you're saying.
I didn't have any tequila. I did try some mezcal, but I think that was really helpful. And I kind of said to myself, I think I'll do this every year, is in the fall. I mean, usually I do it in Grapevine, but this year I had to pick one trip. And so I've never been to Mexico City for work. I did that and it was really fun.
And it's beautiful weather there too. It's still not cold, not too hot, so you can truly enjoy your time.
Well, for us Canadians, it's like getting like a second summer before you come back to like a harsh winter.
Yeah, for me it's the opposite.
I highly suggest that.
Like I want a winter and then I go back to the sun. But how about you, Kyle? Because you're all the way in Ireland, and I feel like it's funny because we have a pretty girly group here. But then you're a dad, and I understand you prioritize that time a lot. You share that on your LinkedIn as well. How is it for you? Because does trade take over your life?
That's a great question. I think, for me, I really love my job, right? So I don't look at it as like work. You wouldn't judge someone for taking a walk, right, in their leisure time. With my leisure time, I also like to work, right? But taking that aside, I do 100% take time to fill my glass because I can't give you more if my glass is empty. Right. So I always make sure that I'm filling my glass so I can fill into others. Right. So for example, my work, my life with my wife, my kids, my own personal well-being, I prioritize my well-being because if I don't prioritize my well-being, I can't show up in any capacity for anyone. Right. I'm showing up with my glass being half full. So I'm showing up as half a dad, half a husband, half a friend, half an employee. So I always make sure that I'm making sure that my glass is full, whether it's going to a Muay Thai class, whether it's going for a walk, where it's every Thursday with my son and my daughter, having a movie night at home where there's no rules for the day, and just making sure that I am taking time to switch off and rejuvenate my own batteries and make sure my glass is full.
I also want to say that, right now we're talking about regular life sounds so funny, but just in terms of we have a personal life and we have a work life, but there's also our, in between. I feel like there's so much stuff that can also be occurring to you, like saying you may be sick, you're unhealthy, or you have some health issues, or your kid is sick, and let's say it's a sickness, that spans for longer. You have hospital visits, you have all this stuff going on. But I think that is a huge effect, especially right now. And being in the trade industry and having those issues at home, how do you balance that? If you have so many issues, at work, and you have to meet deadlines, and then there's changes on a Friday night, they're like, okay, hey, you have to get this over the weekend. We have to get this done because otherwise, there's just no way we can make it work. What would you guys say? What is the best thing to do? How do you stay calm? How do you manage that with so many changes going on?
Yeah, I mean, I can take this one to start at least. Just quickly, like I think one of the things that work-life balance for me is actually that my work gives me balance with my family, because I work in consulting, which it can be a slog. I mean, we work long hours and unconventional hours, which is actually super helpful for my family. I don't have to say no to my kids on odd times. Like over the fall, I took my daughter for first year of cross country. I left the office every single day at 2 o'clock to take her from one school to another school. Oftentimes I worked in my truck. My husband fashioned me this steering wheel thing that goes over and it holds my laptop. And I know that must sound like a crazy woman, but if my kid's out
Amazing.
running and she doesn't care that I'm on my laptop, but it holds my arms like ergonomically correct. And I was able to get some of the work done on Wi-Fi when it didn't disrupt her. It allowed me to like show up for her. So that's kind of that, just some ways that it's been helpful to have that flexibility. Whereas if I was in the office, I would feel immediately guilty that I'm having to make a choice, one or the other. You can't do both. And so I really feel like that's supported me and my family pretty well. And I think my kids just don't like hearing about trade anymore, but they've got me for the long haul. It's always been the case. And as far as it goes with this Friday night business, you'll see that I put a lot of effort over the weekend. If you follow my LinkedIn, around stuff that does come out over the weekend. The reason I show up for that in those hours is by choice, because I know how it feels to sit in the seat of an importer, exporter person who has very little useful time to pour into this, and how the Monday scary is when you know something hit late that you're going to get pounded on first thing in the morning. I have the luxury of my schedule. They may not. So when I thought about it, I had a post ready for Saturday morning. I was like, no problem. Oh, wonderful. Yay. Personal me kind of post. And I was like, oh yeah, you're going to have to wait till Sunday, because this Friday stuff is going to have a higher impact to people that really need just someone who has the bandwidth to digest it and share it. So that's what I tend to do. I tend to take things that may be a little bit more difficult to dissolve and make it readable, usable, and no gatekeeping. Just put it out to my network to say, here you go. Happy Monday. Check it, make sure it's right, but hopefully it helps somebody get a fresh start. So
I
that's
will
what
say that those releases from you, Michelle, are invaluable. Like I go to your page or I wait for, like they sometimes just come through my feed, but I know that that's where I go for Friday night releases. Is Michelle.
I love that. Definitely, like the way you just described it, it feels wholesome, feels like community. And I think that's one thing I also want to say. Community kind of, even though it's another step of having to connect with people and looking through social media, but ultimately that's kind of what helps you through this, because you see other people going through the same thing. You see other people trying to help you, like you, Michelle, trying to help others. And I think that's what gives other people more hope, in this industry. I also want to say, there's so many holidays coming up. I know, Bonnie, you might not get all of those, but or Kyle
Yeah.
or Benita, but there's Thanksgiving coming up. There's holidays. What do you work through those days? Or, because I feel like in this trade industry, nothing is, there's every day there's something new. And if you're not working, then who's going to do it? So things are still getting imported. Things are still getting exported. So how do you manage that? Anyone?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to like my initial comment. Like you're not going to judge someone for going to the gym because they enjoy going to the gym, right? And even if I'm 7 days a week, you're not going to judge them for that. You're going to say, good job for going 7 days a week. You shouldn't judge me because I enjoy my work and I want to work through the holiday season, right? Granted, if I have kids, there's always going to be an exception, right? Making sure that I'm with my family. Like for example, so I spend the first part of my morning, I get up before everyone and I start to work, right? Because I know when from 7 o'clock in the morning to like 8 o'clock in the morning, my kids are going to be awake. So like that's when I need to be there for them and I need to be present. So I enjoy getting up really early, banging out work because I enjoy it. I get fulfillment out of working, right? It fulfills me. It makes me feel good as a person. And then when it's more of an operational chaos in my house, when I have to show up as a dad or a husband, then I take that time, right? So to answer your question, on Christmas Day, there's not a hope in hell that I'll be working for sure. But you guarantee I'm going to post something on LinkedIn, right? But that post on LinkedIn.
All right,
He can't
Kyle.
let his numbers down. He can't let his numbers down.
That post on LinkedIn was planned like a week in advance. I'm not getting up on Christmas Day to post it. Like I'm preloading all my stuff. I have a whole thing the way I go about it, right? But for sure, like if something needs attention, like I'm okay doing it. Like I'm not someone that needs a million days off. And just similar to Michelle, like creating a work environment that really fits my schedule, right? So I'm able to do my work and not feel like it's inconveniencing my family. And I feel like I have like the perfect work-life balance, right? Like sometimes I get a bit stressed when things are a little bit stressful because the aim is I want to help as many people as possible. So it's not necessarily the law that's stressing me out. It's my want to help as many people as possible. That's more stressful than the legislation changing.
I love that. Well, it's kind of your identifying priorities and your values. If that's what works for you, I think it's what works for you. For another person, it might not work, right? But it is so different on how Europe and America works, or Canada. I don't know how it is for you, Benita.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we follow more
Am I-
closely with the Americans because, at one time my clients were from the Netherlands and I kind of liked it when they like ignored our emails and just like took their time because it showed us like, maybe no one's going to die if someone's taking a break.
To
Yeah.
add to that, it's like I think that the Europeans, at least me being here now for 5 years, just like this is part of the culture. So it's not like there's not somebody working. It's that they know that they're going to take this time off and they plan accordingly, right? So they meet their project deadlines. They know that they do want to take the time and actually separate from work for holidays. You don't see a whole lot of Europeans with their laptops like working on the go, right? Like they like to separate their work, but they also prepare for it. So it's that they're not missing deadlines or missing project deliverables, that they know that they're already going to take this time off. So I think it's, really built into the culture, and I respect that. And to be honest, I've loved it. I, like Kyle, will not be working on Christmas or New Year's and on Beaujolais Day. That was a joke.
Yeah, I think
I actually have to work on Beaujolais Day, but
Is that
it's nice to
Boxing
take it
Day?
off.
Yeah.
Huh?
What is Beaujolais Day?
It's the release of like a new wine here in France. It's on the Thursday before Thanksgiving.
Cool.
It's the same every year. Depending on if there's any French listening, yes, I know it's not the top quality of wine that France has, but it's amazing to celebrate, the release of this wine and just, spend time with friends enjoying, right? So
That sounds
I like
fun.
it, but yes, they respect their holidays around here, and I also value that.
Yeah.
A little case study, if you don't mind. My background in defense contracting often had a no Christmas. I mean, that's not true, not Christmas, but the weeks leading up to New Year's were huge for government contract dates. When the money evaporates on December 31st, if your commitments are not made, and not everything in supply chain and logistics, even before the current chaos of this year has happened. Even before that, many times there are things outside of your control, but you have letters of credit and you have things with governments that are requiring that you must meet or everything evaporates. And so, having come from that, I attribute that time to my very large streak of gray hair that I earned. But one of the things that I did during that time, because it was so stressful for everybody, was just told minimal time off during Christmas. Clearly, you got Christmas Day. Clearly, you got Christmas or New Year's Day. But the other times in between were so restrictive in those environments. And as a leader in that space, it's so important to make the best for the group that you have, figure out ways of rotation that help people prioritize on your team, like different different spots where they can take some time. What's priority for you? What's priority for your family? Do you need certain support because we're going to be all hands for this particular project or what have you? And also just stopping to say, whose job is that? And it might be unpopular, but I'm like, if it's above your pay grade, the leader in that space should be taking those calls that are on the 11th hour on the holiday. The person who shows up and says, hey guys, all phones are off. If I need you, I'll contact you, but don't be replying to forwarders to this person, to that person. It's clear instructions that all the things come through the leader. Then, if they need support, we'll reach out. And that just helps kind of protect that time that they do get for themselves in a stressful environment. But there was also a lot of camaraderie because everyone knew they were really stuck. Like this was just the way it was, and we were all hands in. But how leaders show up in that space to support their team makes all the difference in how it actually happens in practice. And at the end, we're all high fiving because the project went through, the money was deposited, everything happened like it should. But the holidays are not always the most amazing time if your business is on that scale and deals with governments.
Yeah,
I
well,
love what you, yeah, go ahead.
that's fantastic, Michelle. Like, but I think let's just unpack that whole leadership saga that you just discussed.
Yeah.
The lack of leadership, right? Just because you have a title doesn't make you a leader. Just because you're a senior, whatever, doesn't make you a leader. And I get the impression from obviously years of experience that because someone has a title or is a manager, they think that they're a leader. Meanwhile, they're leading their team into the pits of hell, for lack of better words, right? They're not leading their teams. They're making them miserable, toxic positivity, having leadership meetings that actually mean nothing, saying one thing, doing another thing. It's something that I feel quite passionate about, and it's something that I see destroying individuals, teams, and even organizations. And then the worst part about it is when it gets, driven through politics where everyone is kind of having each other's back and tit for tat and things like that. It gets really, really messy. So although it sounds like you guys had it down, and that's amazing to hear stories like that, because I feel that most people don't have stories like that to tell. And most people won't speak up about it either. So just to go to show you how toxic the environments are. Oh, no, wait.
Right.
You don't have
like
to
whenever the senior leadership is out of office on the Christmas week, but you have this, the direct reports, taking cover. I think that makes it really difficult. Yeah, but I really valued, Michelle, kind of like the perfect structure of a team, right? Where you all fill in this together and you all divide up the work appropriately. Again, you're setting boundaries like this is my responsibility. This is actually, I need a senior manager to sign off on this. I can't do it. So why am I sitting on this call? So just being clear about that going into the holiday season is also important.
Communications. This is the thing that I keep saying, the two massive biggest issues in any organization, including trade exclusively, because this is a trade podcast, is communication and education. Those are the two things that we're absolutely terrible at. We think we can communicate because we're talking, but we're not communicating effectively.
Yeah.
Right? It's not clear what actually needs to be done and where the boundaries are, and what needs to take, who needs to take on what, when, and where. And then the whole education piece, just getting people to a level that they can understand and operate within their guidelines.
Just taking the holidays into account here is that a lot of people experience holidays differently. And I think that is a huge part of what I also want to talk about in this podcast is that people go through you expect people to have this jolly holly holidays, right? I mean, that's what we all want. That's what, we all work for. But some people, they might lose some loved ones, they might be alone, they might have health issues, again, they might have money burden, they might have lost their job, or all those kinds of things, or might be laid off from big company because the current environment is also not ideal for a lot of people. And I think how Michelle just explained the story, that would make someone's life easier, right? Rather than someone making it more difficult. I mean, I think that is such a big part of how we can treat people in companies, that they can go back home, and even if they have a hard life at home, they can manage it, or don't have to think about, oh my God, now I'm going back home and it's the same. I'm not getting any relief, nothing. So that made me very happy that you said that. I want to kind of discuss some things that we can do to make ourselves happy. I mean, I know we addressed this in a short way, we try to the work-life balance, but what else can we do? And I know Benita, you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, this started like the fall of 2020. It's the pandemic, and We're going into Christmas, put my golf clubs away, and I started this virtual book club. So shameless plug. Michelle actually comes. She's part of the book club. And we talk about books. So like this world is running out of like people who love to read, and we read like business books, leadership books, and then every third book is a fiction book. So this December is The World Played Chess, and it is a very heartwarming book. And I invite people to come and read the book and have a listen or just talk about the book.
I love that. So for me, it's just working out, going for walks, going outside. I'm just a morning person. Not in Europe. I'm not a morning person in Europe, but I am a morning person in the States. And I wake up very early. I go for a long walk, go for a workout, go get my coffee, and then I go to work. And trust me, I'm much more enjoyable than if I don't go work out, because if I don't, first of all, I won't be able to sit still. And then secondly, it's just like, I'll just like want to get out. I'm just like, I need to get outside. I don't like to be stuck. I just, I need to feel free first, and then I can work. And that sounds crazy, and people might not agree with it, but it just works for me. But I know you, Michelle, has another, you love to work out and like to do some things. I don't know. You want to share your holiday challenge, because I feel like people would love to get into that.
Yeah, so I would say that I try to work out. It's sporadic. I am not going to lie. There are times where I'm just like, it just does not happen. And I actually, though a 4:30 in the morning workout would probably be my demise, I do have extreme appreciation for dedication like that. And that there are many people in my circles that do daily walks and have walked. I think Hal has walked for someone on our book club has walked consistently for this large amount of time. And the numbers escaping me, but it's incredible. And so when I see that, I'm like, oh man, that is really where that routine comes in. So one of the routines I do during the holidays is I participate in the Concept 2 Holiday Challenge, which is between American Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's a 30-day challenge where you do 100,000 meters on your rower, or 200,000 on the bike or the skier. So all their products, it has to do with the PM5 monitor that tracks it, and the online logbook and the challenges. And so they do a really great job. And I did the Dog Days of Summer, which is similar, but it's broken up into certain gates and you still get to your 100,000. But for the holidays, it's free for all. So it's all a mind over matter. I mean, one of the challenge things that I heard from a fellow user of their equipment said, yeah, the best way to get a good start on this is to the weekend of Thanksgiving. If you're not going to be away, put 10,000 on every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you start your month with 30,000 bank, and then you're using the rest of the month to be a little more reasonable with yourself on the days that you're going to participate. But it's so encouraging. And it's they even have a real-time loop, which, being that we're an international crowd today, I think it's interesting if you've never looked at that. For them, they have a loop where you can see the different people and where they're from all around the world, because their products are everywhere. And so you can get on and you start rowing and you can see, and you can like, there's that Kyle guy, I'm gonna pass him, and you start going faster. No, I'm joking, but it's a really great program.
I love that. Yeah, I'm small. I've never heard of this before.
Like the Peloton.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
the Peloton has something similar.
So here's a crazy story. So a few companies ago, we won't mention the name. We had a like summer challenge, right? And obviously, I don't think that they thought I was going to take it seriously, right? So like on the second week, I get calls from like the people that were running it. They're like, Kyle, we just want to make sure, like, are you logging 2 devices? Like, is everything okay? Like, how are you scoring so much? I was like, guys, I'm taking this serious. I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going for my run. I'm going for my walk. Like, I'm not like, there's no chance anyone's going to beat me. Anyway, when it comes to competitions, there's no chance of me losing.
A little bit competitive. Michelle, have you done 10,000 kilometers in one sitting before? Because that's so challenging.
10,000 meters in a
10,000 meters. That's what I meant, not kilometers.
Oh, yeah,
that's crazy.
So at the end of the Dog Days in the summer, I had like 20,000 left. And I was just like, I can break it up. It's going to be fine. And my daughter, she's 11. She goes, Ma, you got this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, girl, I do. And so I went right down hours. I couldn't feel my butt for like 2 hours afterwards,
Oh
but I
my
put on
gosh.
my favorite trash television, put my phone in the cradle, and I went to town and I got it done, and it felt
Oh, wow.
so good. That's the longest I've ever done on the rower. I know
20,000.
in one clip. So, I mean, I take a break every so many meters. I stop, I stretch my back and shoulders real quick, but I stay on the rower, but I do a little stretch and then I go back out, drink
That's
some
20
water.
kilometers.
I don't get off. I keep going. So,
Wow.
That is
yeah.
so good.
And I'm not a
Impressive.
rower. So I want to say this because it can feel like, oh, yeah, great. She's so wonderful. Rower lady probably
That's
knows
all I'm
this.
not
I never touched it until I happened to work for them at a time. And even while I worked there, I didn't quite use it as much. But this holiday challenge really got me into where I'm like, I'm not a runner. I like to box. I like to jump rope. Those are my like cardio things, body weight exercises. But for some reason, I have this love affair with that rower. And it's been good for me. It really has. And I'm looking forward to it.
And I think that's important, finding something where you can excel that you also enjoy and that's good for you. I truly believe that that's the key to just overall hacking your life. If you're going through difficulties in your industry, in your job, difficulties in life, doing something where you can say, oh, this was good for me. I feel good in my head. I feel good. My body might feel a little sore, but you feel good. You're doing something that'll strengthen your body. And I do believe that's the best thing. Some people may disagree, and that's totally fine, but I just cannot unsee that, to be honest. And go ahead.
Sorry, I have something to add as far as like things that we can do during the holidays to feel good, right? For those that may not already be feeling good, like you had mentioned, Anik, like people that are struggling during the holidays. And it kind of comes back to something that Michelle was saying earlier, is like she picks up the slack on Fridays to go and check out the CSMS and post them, review them and post them. She's giving back to the community, right? And I think that that's something that we can continue kind of tying in with trade and the holidays. Are some people are taking the holidays off? Like, let's give them that space because they have to. Maybe they have somebody to take care of. Maybe they have to take care of themselves. And I think that like really everybody here on this call is already giving back to the community. And that is something that you can also feel rewarding from, right?
Yeah.
Giving back to this community. Like, I don't think that, I'm sure I share this feeling with a lot of people, but I don't know if I would have been able, I don't think I would not have been able to make it through this trade tumultuous time without my community. Like, hands down. Like I'm only able to even stay abreast because of the community that I have and that I've built up over the last 15, 17 years, and so I think that shines even more also during the holidays.
Yeah, I love that. And that is such a true way of stating that, because I don't even think about that. But people do enjoy, how we enjoy LinkedIn posts and stuff like this. This is the same way. And I feel like that's why we wanted to do this episode, just to, have a regular conversation and not make things, I don't want to say more difficult, but not make things so stressful for other people. And I know we don't do that, but sometimes I feel like it's just the industry is so stressful, and I hate, but obviously I love people listening to our podcast, but I also hate that they have to listen to the podcast to figure out what they can do next. Like, it's kind of sad, but it's also such a love-hate relationship, I guess. But I love that we get to do this, and I love that, I found a good circle that loves to come on the podcast and share these things. And, even though this wasn't very helpful, if you need to get some tariff help or whatever, obviously that we did not help in this case.
They come to us. Most of us are consultants on the call.
Yes.
So if you need tariff help, you'll have our contact information. So please reach out.
Very much true. Yeah, you're right. And all their contact information will be below. But I want to thank everyone for listening. And I hope this was a little wholesome episode for you. It was all over the place, but that's a kind of life. And I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll be back for the next one, because I think that's I don't even know if that's our Christmas session yet, but oh my God, Christmas is so close if you're celebrating. So thanks to you all for being on, and I'm so happy, and hopefully I get to talk to you guys before the year ends. But again, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Yeah. Bye.
Thanks. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.